When your previously good sleeper stops sleeping well, what can you do? I have 5 tips for you on that today. So you've been maybe one of the lucky ones, maybe felt a little bit smug because your child has been a really good sleeper and you've had all these other people suffering and you think, mine's okay. And now all of a sudden, yours is not okay. I've been there and I know exactly what that feels like. So how do you investigate this one and work out what to do and get this sleeper back to being a good sleeper? Well, number one, have a little think about what may have changed and what may have caused this change in their sleep. It could be something not so obvious. So first of all, have they reached a developmental milestone? For instance, a big one is walking. But any other physical or mental developmental milestone could impact their ability to sleep. Walking, I find, is a big player because they're just, they're so excited to be able to walk. They're using this different levels of energy. They want to practice. It can shift things, but even little ones that are a bit older can hit milestones where their night's sleep suddenly changes. So just be aware of that. Obviously, the milestone is going to happen and you can't, I'm not saying you can go and just eliminate that milestone, but being aware of that and knowing a potential reason might help to uncover some of the next pieces. So, have their sleep needs changed? And that could be a milestone. The sleep needs may have shifted and perhaps you've not known how to and therefore not accommodated that change. For instance, if a little one is ready to be on 1 nap a day, so that usually happens between 13 and 17 months, roughly. 15 months is quite average, but it usually happens somewhere in there. If you've got a little one that's sort of maybe 17 months, 18 months, and they're still taking 2 naps a day, they might be getting enough sleep in the day, but they might really be needing to take that in one go rather than in 2 naps. And just that pure timing issue could mean that they are having night sleep issues. Now you might think, well, why? Surely if it's in 2, it's more spread out. So why would they be overtired? Because it's just not where their body needs the sleep to be. It might cause effects of feeling like overslept, or it might cause effects of feeling overtired. Either way, it's just not quite right for them right now. And the same the other way around. Perhaps your little one is only having 1 nap a day, but really ought to still be having 2. They're not actually quite ready to be down to 1. And perhaps they have it and you think, yeah, but they do 3 hours and I know it's in one go, but they get the sleep. And then you suddenly start getting these disturbed nights. It's because even though they are getting the hours, we want 3 hours, but we need it in 2 naps. And actually it's because that wakeful stretch, maybe the morning stretch or that afternoon stretch, is just too long for them and it leaves an overtired effect, which is causing the disturbed nights. So it could be that the sleep needs have shifted and you and your child are not quite up with them yet. So check that out. Have habits changed? Maybe you had a really good bedtime routine going and you were on track every evening, it was the same sort of time, and all of a sudden it's got a bit loose and some days it's this time and some days it's a late night, and maybe you've just got a bit out of practice with something. Have you, have you had to rush the bedtime routine a bit too much and not had that nice wind down? It could be a new arrival, a new baby or something, and therefore the good sleeper, the older sibling, perhaps isn't having the same routine or something shifted. Their habits, basically. Have any habits changed? It could be eating habits, could be your rules, like perhaps you previously didn't let your child into your bed, but then suddenly you have actually started being a bit relaxed with that and letting them in. Well, I can tell you now, the night sleep's disturbed because they're trying it. They're going, oh, I'm awake. Actually, I think I'll go in there. And therefore, you're getting that as a repercussion. So have a look at those things. Maybe those things have changed. In looking for those things, you're going to find clues as to where the work needs to be done and what you maybe need to tighten back up on. So the next thing is really, to tie those things together, first of all, make sure that they're getting enough sleep in the day and check that the timing is right. So what are those wakeful windows? What do they look like? What did they ought to look like? Are they awake for too long? The next one is to tighten up your routine and your rhythm. So tighten up that bedtime routine. Make sure you're doing those same steps in the same order at the same time every evening. Make sure that you're responding in the same way to every waking. Make sure that there's no mixed messages going on. That consistent response to the wakings is going to be really, really key. So if you go in and, or do a little return to bed and they're there and night and out you go, that's fine. Do that every time. If you go in, get them settled and sit there for 5-10 minutes, that's fine. Do that every time. Just like I said, don't be hit and miss as to, well, you can come in my bed this time and no, not this time, or, that kind of thing. And same with feeding, is there a feed required or not? If there is, decide how that looks. Feed as a response or a dream feed, and make sure they're settled. But know that the times when it's not needed, when it's not a feed, that you've got a response to reassure and help them settle back to sleep consistently. And then finally, the final thing you can do as a cherry on top here is to reward them, if appropriate, for sleeping or for staying put all night. So depending on the age of the child and what it is they're doing, you could create incentives for them. Usually they need to be sort of closer to 3 to really understand reward charts and incentives. But you can certainly, there are always things you can do to let your little one know that you're pleased with them and that they did a great job. And when they are sort of 3 and up, be really, really clear and specific about exactly what they did. Like, you didn't wake mummy up all night, or you stayed in your own bed all night. Well done. Like the actual thing, not a loose kind of, weren't you good last night? Because good last night? Was I okay? What does that mean? So be very specific about exactly what they did that was great, and reward them. And yeah, 3 and above, they can respond really well to that. And so that little incentive and praise. So there you go, some tips for you today on when your great sleeper has suddenly become not such a great sleeper.